Everyone. Go ahead, Gail.
Okay, I'm sorry. I want to welcome you to the SIGUCCS Mentor Kickoff Program. My name is Gail Rankin, and I am calling to you from Massachusetts. And I'm here with a lot of different members of the advisory team. And our goal today is just give you a brief overview of the mentoring program. I'm really looking forward to today, and I hope you are too. We want you to understand what your expectations are and how to optimize your mentoring experience. You go ahead and click. And so I just want you to know, who are we this year? We have people coming from several different states all over the country. And go ahead and click, Beth. If you click again, you're also going to understand that we have people who are coming from a variety of different roles. We have vice presidents, help desk supervisors, network administrators, instructional technologists, and all of these people will talk about the work that we do in really different ways. And so we really want to spend a day of how to best communicate with each other, because different jobs require different techniques. So go ahead and click, Beth. So what we want to do right now is tell you how we matched you up. We reviewed all of your applications, and we spend a lot of time on your career improvement requests, the goals, your desires, your preferences, and then we match you with the mentors, and it's based on their experience and their strengths and their interests. I want to make sure that you want to know that an initial match is made. Advisor is assigned to this process as well. So if things don't work out, you can at least let us know. It's not a perfect process at any time, but you should hear from both your mentor and your advisor by the end of January if you haven't already done that. Okay? And as we go along, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to let us know what they are, and we'll answer them as we move along. Okay? So to start to really optimize your mentor experience, there's pretty much 4 different parts to a mentor relationship, and we're going to go through those. And while we're really going through these different areas, we're really imparting strategies on how to make best use or to maximize the experience. All right. So go ahead. So the first one's preparations. Big things you want to consider for a mentor or a mentee is to communicate, to commit, and to consider. This really means throughout this process, whether you're a mentee or a mentor, you're going to get to know yourself better. You're going to be getting to know somebody else well. It's really important that you're honest with your mentor and the mentee. Be honest about what you want to accomplish, about the limitations that you have in terms of the time that you can put into it, what you can and can't accomplish at a particular position. Because the only person who's going to be able to tell you about the position is the mentee, and the mentor needs to know that frame of reference to be able to help you effectively. I want you to really commit to the process. We want to make sure that you schedule time for it and that you prepare for it. Every mentoring experience is a bit different, and people need different things. And so let's say you're coming from corporate and into a higher ed job, and you need to learn how to do that. That's a different kind of information that we would need to provide a mentee than a person who is looking to change their skill sets with the idea that they're going to move into upper management in an institution. So as we're talking about these different things, listening is a key component for everyone, mentors and mentees. We want you to be honest. We want you to be prepared to set goals if you're a mentee. We want you to listen. Listen if you're a mentor, listen if you're a mentee, and we're really talking about being open to the thoughts. Sometimes what we have to say as a mentor to a mentee can be difficult, and sometimes it's not fun. All right, so as you're getting to know each other, you're going to learn some honest feedback, and there's the role of confidentiality that we want to put in here. You want to be able to speak freely to your mentor, and your mentor wants to be able to speak freely to you. So you're going to be thinking about how you can set down those ground rules in order to have that happen. There's a level of respect and flexibility. Life happens, and maybe we can't meet on that day, but we can definitely meet as time goes on. All of this comes in things that when we have a bad mentor-mentee relationship, it really sort of isn't fun. If someone just doesn't ever show up and never lets you know that you can't make it there, somebody had a job change and didn't have time for the mentorship and just didn't let anybody know. And one person thought they could do it while they're in graduate school and had to step away. So, if you're working with that, don't just leave your mentor hanging. If it doesn't work out, let us know. On the mentee side, if the match doesn't seem to be working really well, let us know. We'll be happy to find another person. We usually get people who have the exact same area of experiences that you have, and they volunteer. So, you know, if we've missed, we want to know about it. Go ahead, Beth. So as we start to talk about these initial meetings that you're going to be having with your mentor and mentees, I want you to consider that your mentor is your personal resource if you're a mentee. I want you to plan for the meetings. I want you to find like a quiet place to meet with them, because it's hard to have a conversation when, oh, I'm sorry, I can't tell you the answer to the question is what you hear on the other end of the phone. I was talking to somebody who was working in a cubicle, and it was really difficult. We made it so that she could be outside and meet at lunchtime. It was just the original time we set up didn't work out in the long run, so we're more than willing to change our time if that's what needs to happen. Considering how much time you'd want to do, how often do you want to meet, and for how long? What works in your schedule, and you need to be flexible enough to see what works in your mentee and mentor schedule. Depending on the goals, sometimes meetings take more time than others. And then you want to consider about how you're going to meet, whether you're going to meet on the phone, on a Google Hangout, on Skype. Whatever works for the two of you is the best thing. And as you're meeting with these things, there's also communication tools that you want to be thinking about. In terms of the Google Hangouts, you want to be sharing documents, or you're just going to be talking back and forth and emailing. You want to be working all of that out. You want to be setting ground rules about confidentiality, about what's, you know, you do want to talk about, what you don't want to talk about. I was working on somebody in a mentor relationship, and one of the goals they had was to have a better relationship with their boss, and we were able to talk about everything. She had some ground rules around confidentiality in terms of, I guess the person was in our organization. And so we don't share as a mentor anything that occurs between the mentor-mentee relationship. That's between those two people. It's not something that anybody else really talks about outside of that area. Okay? I would like to tell you that you want to have goals. Be prepared to write those goals and write them down. And Beth, if you could just click on this, it'll talk a little bit about a SMART example. I'm sure everybody's heard an acronym S.M.A.R.T, but it really is a situation that's measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And so this was one idea. This one lady wanted to present her ideas to a manager who was telling her that she talked too much. So her idea was to discuss with the boss at the end. She had it stepped the way she was going to do. She's going to outline the steps, prepare a meeting with the boss, and brief talking points, and then only read those talking points. And she put that planning time on her calendar in the schedule to prepare for the meeting, and that she was going to try it for 60 days. And she actually did this with the knowledge of the boss so that they could see how it worked out at the end of the 60 days. Because it was something simple that she could really work, and it was clear, this is a good example of a SMART set of goals. So we're going to be looking for, not, those are just a specific way, and it may not apply to the goals that you have. But keep in mind that you want it to be really clear, measurable, attainable. We can't, you know, we may not be able to become a CIO between now and next fall. That may not be attainable. But maybe there's some other sub-steps that you could attain. So you'll be expected to sort of articulate your goals in that way. The other thing I want you to do is to consider really taking notes. It's when I talk to people and I don't see them or talk to them for another month or 3 weeks, you can lose sight of what we talked about. It's really easily. But the things are really important. And in order to be a successful mentor, I strongly recommend that people write down where things are. And as a mentee, I ask them to write down. And we sort of lead, at least when I'm doing mentoring, I lead with that. So this next 3 weeks we're going to be working on, or your goal for the next 3 weeks is X. So it's really clear on what the next step is. And don't forget to follow up. We've had people where we've had things that have gone well and things that haven't gone well. So I had one person who was trying to present the ideas to the boss, and it didn't go so well. And if I hadn't followed up and said, well, hey, what happened, I would never have known that it didn't really go well. And to have a conversation about what went wrong. So as a mentor, you have to follow up, and as a mentee, you want to let them know the outcome of things, good or bad. You know, like I said, this is a personal resource for you. Even if it's a difficult or painful conversation, it's definitely worthwhile. Okay? I always talk about conversations we have with people that talk about that you can only have the conversation in silence, and then there's the pine cone of silence, which is like really, really quiet area of silence. Conversations with your mentors are the pine cone of silence. Go ahead and hit. Ready to go, Beth. Now we're on to growth. And I talk about this part of the relationship. After you figured out how you're going to work together, you're really starting to do things that will really be helping you grow. And that could be starting with strength finders to find out who you are and what kind of person your strengths are if you're not aware of what those are. It could be talking about suggesting resources as mentors. And in mentees, you're in charge of that learning. You have to be talking about the steps that you're going to be taking. So sometimes if I were going into a brand new area and I had a mentor that was really sort of guiding me, if you're moving from academics and technologies are two really different ways of looking at the educational institution, and if you're moving from one area to the next, you might need somebody to mentor you. You'll be asking, okay, so I'm going to roll in what I've just learned and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z each time. So be prepared to say, okay, here's what I've learned this time and here's what I'm going to do with it. We'll be looking for that kind of active participation. And as a mentor, you should be looking to actively participate and say, for the next session, I'm going to be sending you these resources, or I'll be sending you these solutions. Does anyone have any questions as we go through this?
So far, no. Sarah was just reporting a weird buzzing sound on the mic every couple minutes. I'm not sure if others have had that experience.
I think it's because people are joining us, actually.
Okay.
But I'm getting the same buzzing sound. So I apologize. Go ahead and hit the advanced. So I'm going to hand this over at this moment to Chris Owens, if you're there, Chris, so he can talk to you about the Hangouts. These are things we have periodically throughout the year, and I really want you to participate in them. Chris, are you there?
Chris, I did just unmute
Yep.
you.
Yeah, sorry. I was like, hey, I can't unmute myself. So yes, my name is Chris Owens. I'm Manager of Support Services here at Adams State University. And we have Terry Fernandez, and just joining us this year, someone who's helped develop a lot of content in the past, Karen McRitchie. And we're going to do things a little bit different this year as far as, well, let's talk about what the Hangouts are. So we get together, the groups of the mentees, and then we have groups of the mentors get together and talk about, giving a chance for people that to talk about some of the experiences they're having, some challenges they're facing. Some people use it as a, as a means to, get information about something they're working on. Primarily, we're focused on professional development for the mentors, or for the mentees. We have a number of topics right now that we're in the process of updating. For the mentee Hangouts, we're going to have them about every other month, first Thursday of the month. We'll be sending out notifications once we have all of those details kind of lined out. We also, as we're talking about this, I was going to see if people had topics that they were specifically interested in. And if you'd like, you can add them to the chat window as I'm talking and as they're continuing the presentation here. But as I say, we've got a number of materials that we've put together that we're just sort of touching up and getting the schedule. So we'll be letting you know what those are going to be like. For the mentors, we'll be primarily focused on having one at the, let's say, beginning of this process, kind of help people get connected, to talk about the common issues that the mentors may have. Obviously, nothing will be talked about the mentees because of obviously that level of confidentiality, but just kind of like strategies that maybe mentors could use. So we're doing a little bit different this year. We were splitting them up, but you'll see emails coming from us that will outline the dates. We're going to be updating the wiki for content, and I just like to say, come join us on these. They're interactive. They're great for professional development. I think just about every topic that we've had, I personally have learned a lot from. And I've been in IT for 35 years, and these have been great for me personally. So if you have ideas or questions that you'd like to see in these Hangouts, as I say, feel free to use the chat window to put in some ideas. We'll use those as we're finishing up the development of the materials, and then we'll get communication out to you on the dates and times for those. So thank you.
Yeah, Chris, just so you know, at this point, nobody's chatted in any ideas. But
Gotcha.
I'm on it, so don't feel free to chat in any ideas you have.
We're going to actually challenge you to send and add in a topic of something that you might be interested in, because that really helps us as we're making the Hangouts. We have a lot of materials. We don't want to waste your time. We want to make it worthwhile for all of you. And just so you know, just to follow up on what Chris said, I have a great time every time I go to these Hangouts. And the last one I did one on appreciative inquiry, and I'm not sure if you all know what that is, but I learned a tremendous amount of looking at how you inquire and look at solving from an appreciative standpoint instead of at a finger-pointing standpoint. And the techniques that I learned there have really been valuable for me throughout this past year. So we encourage you to put down a topic you'd like, something that you might want to learn about or not, as you wish. But the more information and feedback we get, the better off it is. And again, we want you to participate in these Hangouts. It's a chance for you to get to know other mentees and other mentors, and it really helps. And as we move forward in this, our last part, if you go ahead and click the screen, Beth, is about closure. At the end of our year, we'll go a whole year, and your mentorship relationship has a timeline. And it's not always going to follow the timeline that is in the mentorship program. And so sometimes it might be that it ends a little early. I have one person who was working really hard on some skills and wanted to move to a different kind of position, and it just wasn't available at their organization, and it turned out that they got a promotion and left. And so our mentorship program, they went back to corporate to do what they wanted to do, and our mentorship program ended in June. And so when we reflect on what's the path and the whole relationship, I want to make sure that you understand that it may or may not last all the way till September, and that's A-okay. There's value in this relationship on both sides, and don't forget to celebrate all the fun accomplishments that each one of you has throughout the year. It's really important to recognize when things are going right, and I think that that's something that you have to include, like maybe a section of what's going right this time. Or this session. I usually try to do that as I go along with my mentorship, and it's just an idea for other mentors or mentees. So I want to make sure that as we're going, if anybody has any questions, to let us know. You all should have gotten from me today the mentor guide. They would have come in your email today, and that's sort of, you'll see the same color that we used here in the mentor guide for 2017. And we really want you, like I said, as we go back to the beginning, to consider what your expectations are and what your commitment as a mentee, what you're going to be bringing to the table. Because a mentor-mentee is not a one-sided relationship, it's a two-sided relationship, and everybody's bringing stuff to the table. And so you want to make sure that you're bringing your commitment, your willingness to work, all of those things, whatever that looks like, just sort of be prepared to answer those questions. So when your mentor meets with you, mentee, I want you to be able to say, here, I'm going to be allotting this time. And if you're going to be working on something technical, be prepared to say, I plan to put this much time into it this week, so that everybody knows that that it's an attainable goal.
Gail, I wanted to let you know, Brian Gardner's also on, and Brian is on our advisory team. He had a point he wanted to share about goals being iterative. So, Brian, do you want to add in right now?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention very quickly that Gail's point is very well taken in that it's a long year and your goals can be iterative over the course of the year. So you could have overarching goals and then, the SMART goals can be small chunks within that. Last year the people that I worked with, there were different milestones that they wanted to hit to move them towards their eventual goal as they went through the course of the year. And it was a lot to look at as you started the year. But when you break it down into more manageable chunks and again use those SMART goals, I think big goals become very attainable.
Very well said.
And Gail, just so you know, one of our colleagues did let us know that he would be interested in learning about favorite or best resources for IT leadership, system management. That was directed towards possible topics for the Hangout. But I wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
Is anybody else interested in IT leadership and system management? If so, could you just put a Y on your screen, just so we know that you're interested in those kind of things? Those are a couple of topics that come up. Leadership when you're in an IT field is a tough area to get some soft skills on. So, something like emotional intelligence might be another topic that you might be really interested in. And if that's the case, just sort of let us know.
And I do have a few people,
excellent,
agreeing that they'd like to see that as a topic.
I wonder why we're getting that noise. All right. So we're not going to waste much more of your time if you just click on this. We do have advisory committee. An advisor, like I said, should make connection with each one of you, both the mentor and the mentee, by the end of January, so you'll know who you have. And that's really their role. We just want to talk about what we would do if something's not quite working out, if the mentee isn't showing up, if the mentor isn't quite there, or if the match doesn't seem to be quite right. Those are the times when you send and reach out for the advisor. We could have changed your goals since you completed the application and going in a different direction now. There's no right or wrong for this, so don't think like it's a bad thing. We don't want to put a value on it. It's just what is. And we'd rather have you get in touch with an advisor who can help you get to the right person or get the mentee to someone else if it's just not going to work out. Okay? So does anyone have any questions, any concerns that they would like to share at this time? Okay, Beth.
Gail, I don't think chatting in, but this is Beth, and I would just be curious, has anyone not been able to make a connection with your partner yet? If so, just let us know, and we can make sure to follow up on that for you.
Such a quiet group.
Well, it's either a quiet group or we've done a great job in getting the materials they need in order to be successful.
I think it's probably both. All right, with that, we're going to let you go. Again, if you end up with any questions or concerns throughout this, go ahead and click Beth. You can send me an email. You can send it to the advisory committee. We'll make sure you know who those people are, and we'll get connected. And I hope you have a great year and enjoy this program. We've been doing it for 5 years, and as a mentor, I learn something new every year, and as a mentee, it's been invaluable. So that's that. Have a great